Welcome to The Print. I'm Sudeep and I'm here with our esteemed columnist Jaithirth Rao. And today we're discussing his column titled The Rupee Must Fall Harder and Faster. It's the path that will lead India to prosperity. Welcome, Jerry. I think
Thank you so much, Therese. Thank you.
I think your headline should, give viewers a very good gist about the core of your argument. But before we get to your very controversial solution, you talk in the first half of your article about two drugs, as you call them, that India has, two ailments, remittances and service exports. So tell us a little bit about these problems and why this solution.
Yeah, they're not ailments, they are drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see, if we didn't have these two, then our current account deficit would be so high,
Yeah.
it would be absolutely unmanageable. So that as a country, as a society, we'd be forced to increase our merchandise exports. Today, our merchandise exports balance is extremely negative, but remittances, particularly, which we've now had for about 50 years, have uh, kind of become a drug. Because we keep getting remittances, our current account balance isn't so bad. And last 30 years, we've also had very good service exports. So the two of them together makes our current account balance. In fact, in 1 year, I think in the early 21st century, we even had a small surplus in current account. But we generally have a very small deficit. And we can live with that because we are a high growth economy.
Hmm.
We do get capital flows into the country. So
Yeah.
we can live with a small current account deficit. If we did not have remittances and service exports, this is why I call them drugs.
Yeah.
In their absence, we would be forced to become like all the countries to our east: Vietnam, Taiwan, Korea, China, who are huge on merchandise exports,
Yeah.
who are huge on merchandise exports. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be. We've been an exporting country for thousands of years. But in manufactured exports and merchandise exports today, we are on a per capita basis, we are one of the lowest in the world. And we simply don't seem to have too many products which are globally competitive that we can export.
Hmm.
Uh, and when this drug happens, what happens? What is the second order effect of this drug? It's very similar to a country which is blessed with mineral resources, so South Africa or a Venezuela,
Hmm.
which exports basically fossil fuel and doesn't export anything else, and it allows them to keep an overvalued exchange rate. When you keep an overvalued exchange rate, the signal you're giving to your exporters is don't bother, and to your importers is go ahead, import. You think of something as simple. I'm not even talking about a complicated product.
Yeah.
There's oil seeds and vegetable oils and pulses.
Hmm.
We can grow them. We
Yeah.
can produce them. But it's cheaper to import it.
Yeah.
Now, if we changed our exchange rate and made it more expensive to import, over a few years, the automatic price signal will force domestic producers to produce more of these products.
Mhm.
And we might even become export competitive. That's the point I'm trying to make. Uh, and we've had an overvalued exchange rate going back all the way to 1947. By the way, what I didn't cover in the article, which I'd like to cover on this YouTube interview with you, is that the British government liked an overvalued rupee
Okay.
for the stupidest of reasons. Their ICS officers and British Indian Army officers, when they retired and went back to Britain, they got pensions. And if the rupee were uh, depreciated, their pensions would become less. So they wanted to keep an overvalued rupee all the time. I mean, there were a few thousand of them just to protect their pension. That was, I'm not saying the only reason, but that was one of the major reasons why they kept an overvalued rupee and Indian exports were made uncompetitive. No,
Mhm.
they could have easily carved out and said, okay, we are protecting pensions and let the rest of the economy go with an undervalued rupee. And we would have had an export boom going back from 1880s. You know, in the 1880s, 1890s, Indian textile industry in Bombay, Ahmedabad, Nagpur, Coimbatore started taking off. By the early 20th century, we had a modern textile industry. But we never became exporters like Japan because we always had this overvalued rupee. Right next to us in East Africa,
Yeah.
Indian traders, Kutchi traders, imported American textiles from Lowell, Massachusetts, and sold it in East Africa. Not Indian textiles, because again, we used to get kind of outpriced. So there is a history to
Mhm.
how we have inherited this overvalued rupee. And then we kind of made it a kind of symbol of sovereignty. We can't reduce the value of the rupee. If we do, then that hurts our national pride and this and that. I don't think Taiwan or Korea cared about that. They just merrily in the 70s went around
Yeah.
um, with an undervalued yuan and an undervalued NT dollar, and their exports boomed. It's not the only thing. Look, we have many things that hold back our exports.
Yeah.
Our land and labor laws are very rigid. Our electricity production and distribution is all screwed up. It's not reliable. Our roads, although they've gotten better in recent times, are still behind other countries.
Yeah.
We have skills mismatch with our workforce. I'm not talent mismatch. I'm not saying it's the only reason.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reason. And
Mhm.
if we could change those signals, I think we could get off the drug. And, if tomorrow, and that's why I wrote this article, it's very relevant today.
Yeah.
Given the war in West Asia, suppose tomorrow the remittances from the Gulf dry up, what happens? We will go into a massive current account deficit.
Opposite. Yeah.
And we can't rely on capital account to get us out of that, because we've just seen in recent times foreign portfolio into investors how quickly and how almost like a deluge they take their money out.
Yeah.
So you can't rely on capital account for such a big current account deficit. So I don't know how this West Asia war is going, neither do you. Nobody knows,
Yeah.
right? But I'm saying if there is even a slight fear, and there should be more than a slight fear
Yeah.
among all of us, that these remittances might get reduced, if not completely going away. There is an issue here.
Yeah.
And also in the US, which is a big source of remittances for us, with all the visa wars that the American society and American government is waging. Who knows? You may see a decline in remittances. So, why not, in anticipation of that problem, treat it into an opportunity
Mhm.
and go for an aggressive undervaluation of the rupee? And if we do that, I think our merchandise exports will take off. It won't happen in 3 months, but in 2 years and 5 years, you will see a complete shift. And also, our merchandise import substitution will automatically happen. You won't need high tariffs, quality control orders, all these non tariff barriers, all these hugely painful and costly irritating, burdensome administrative techniques that we use to manage our imports, you won't need them. As I use the example of oil seeds and vegetable oils, automatically imported stuff will start looking more expensive, and our
Yeah.
local farmers will find the right price signal to grow more of it. The same thing will happen with a lot of manufactured goods.
Hmm.
Today, we import toys, shoes, all the way to cranes and earth moving equipment and tunneling equipment. None of them are technologically impossible for us to make.
Yeah.
It's so not so difficult to make shoes. And frankly, we have enough engineering talent in this country to make crane equipment or earth moving equipment. It's not something we can't do.
Yeah.
But if it's cheaper to keep importing them, we'll always kind of get into that trap. You know, again, this is one more point that I deliberately want to make on your interview, Therese, which I didn't make in the article. I've only referred to Taiwan, Korea, and Vietnam.
Yeah.
The big elephant in the room is China. I haven't
Yeah.
referred. For the last 45 years, China has had a large undervaluation of the renminbi. They have kept their currency very, very undervalued. And America has screamed, WTO, this, that, this is not correct. What you're doing is this. But nothing. They'll come and say some polite things in international conferences. Today, they have $1 trillion trade surplus,
Yeah.
and still their currency is undervalued. Whereas if you look at India on a trade weighted basis, our exchange rate is probably modestly overvalued.
Hmm.
It has never been undervalued, and certainly not significantly undervalued. So I think we have to learn this lesson that the value of our currency is a bit of a magic myth, right?
Yeah.
All money is what? Money is not a real thing. It's not a tree or a stone.
Yeah.
Money is what you and I agree.
Yeah.
uh, so if you show me that in your bank account, you show me a piece of paper saying, I have money here, and I believe it. That's
Yeah.
what money is. Similarly, the price of money against another country's money, we should stop looking at it as some kind of macho thing.
Hmm.
If our currency weakens, if it's undervalued, then it's a sign of
Weakness.
something that India
Yeah.
is failing, and that is what we felt in the 50s. If you read the exchange of correspondence between various political and economic figures, um, the view was that in 66, to her credit, Indira Gandhi did go in for a massive devaluation. Unfortunately, it didn't work out too well. She lost a lot of seats in the 67 election. And she kind of put two and two together and said, "This is why I lost it." And after that, she moved
Yeah.
away completely from any market friendly moves on the economy, and made more and more socialism, nationalization.
Yeah.
That became MRTP. All that became what she wanted to do. Again, in 91, Chandrasekhar, uh, Narasimha Rao, in that period, we did go in for a decent devaluation.
Hmm.
And after that, actually, our economy did take off, and lots of exports and lots of activity did take off. But at all stages, if you read the correspondence between our experts, between our economists, our scholars, our bureaucrats, our public figures, there's some concern about preserving the value of the
The rupee.
rupee.
Yeah.
And of course, our media, many of them are really ignorant of economics, they're always obsessing about the value of the rupee. And that has been a bad thing for us, because on a trade weighted basis, if you take a look, you can ask, and you have that very brilliant Bengali lady on your print economics thing.
Vidisha.
Vidisha. She's really
Vidisha.
brilliant. Yeah, check it on a trade weighted basis, the real exchange rate of India, we have never been undervalued.
Mhm.
We're either overvalued or at best we come close to being fairly valued. Now, there are a lot of issues here.
Uh-huh.
Who will oppose an
Yeah.
undervalued currency? In a democracy, particularly, when you come to political economy issues, that's the first thing you need to take a look at.
Yeah.
Certainly, importers will oppose. They like to import cheap. But I think they will figure out. They will figure out. Some of them may start manufacturing the imported stuff if it now is more expensive.
Yeah.
There are elite groups who will oppose it. Strong elite groups who buy real estate outside India, who send their children to universities outside India, suddenly the fees will go up
Yeah.
50%, 100%. They, and they are very powerful. They're very well connected, both in the corridors of Delhi and in the corridors of Bombay. So you will find a lot of pushback from them. I don't think FDI, foreign direct investment people, will worry. They are here for 20 years, 50 years. So nobody, no executive making the decision is going to be around in 20 years, 50 years when and if there's a decent growth story in India, which we do have, I don't think they're going to care.
Uh-huh.
They'll make up in dividends and royalties and whatever over 20 years. So they won't care. FBI, foreign portfolio investors, will care
Yeah.
because they're all in and out people, and maybe some foreign private equity people will care because they're also in and out people, two,
Yeah.
3 years, 7 years, whatever. And they also are very influential. They have lot of lobbying power both in Delhi and in Bombay. And they have lobbying power to publish all kinds of articles in the press and on TV programs. How is India? The rupee, we must save the rupee, protect the rupee. So, but I think we should just ignore them. This is not the time to pay attention to rich people who want to send their children to university abroad. Let's change the pricing such that foreign parents want to send their children here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Then,
our parents are okay with their children getting educated here because getting educated abroad is just too expensive. It is quite absurd that so many Indian parents find it uh, uh, less expensive to send their children to Ukraine or Russia to study than to study in India. If we change the pricing, I'm saying it won't entirely go away. Nothing in
yeah.
pricing, as you know, things happen at the margin. Nothing entirely goes away. But at the margin, you will start seeing a shift.
Gotcha.
And I think we will be able to create, uh, because listen, I don't know what about you. I'm an old man. I lived in Beirut, by the way, during the Yom Kippur War of 1973. So I have witnessed the Baker Valley bombings and so on. So my memory goes back a long time. This is a very scary situation we are in.
Yeah.
And we have 10 million people in the Gulf. We have a big vested interest in those remittances. And UAE and so on, those countries are some of the biggest trading partners we have.
Yeah.
You know? So I am quite worried. And so maybe before the drug goes away, what do you say, Therese? You might get the right word. I'm trying to think. When a person goes off a drug,
Withdrawal.
withdrawal symptoms.
Yes.
Before we get the withdrawal symptoms, maybe we can do something. So I've been reading in the press of late, oh, people are so worried. What is this here? Rupee's gone to 92, 90. This is very bad. It's not very bad. Maybe it should go to 100 and 105, 110. It should go faster and more substantially. I don't know. I haven't looked at the statistical time series as to where exactly our trade weighted real exchange rate is.
Mhm.
But whatever it is overvalued right now.
Yeah.
And we have to. Now, the other issue is we are always worried about gold imports.
Yeah.
Now, in rupee terms, if gold imports become expensive, at least legal gold imports will come down. And illegal gold imports, because then you'll have to buy it even higher.
Yeah.
It just so all those things will. I'm not saying they'll go away. We have been
Of course.
importing gold for 5,000 years, so
Yeah.
that's not stopping. But it can come down. So many of the concerns, second order, third order concerns that we tend to have, over
Yeah.
invoicing, under invoicing, we are always worried about that. You know, importers over invoice, exporters under invoice. When you get the pricing down, automatically those incentives get less. They won't become zero because
Yeah.
there are always crooks trying to fiddle something, but the economic incentives become less. And again, 45 years here, People's Republic of China is not foolish.
Yeah.
They have kept a grossly undervalued currency. And they have not cared what pressure, what lectures, what sermons the West gives them.
Yeah.
Europeans give them, Americans, WTO, this fellow and his brother. They just keep it.
Yeah.
And they have become the manufacturing colossus
Yeah.
of the world. They have become the export uh, giant of the world.
Yeah.
It takes time. The first 10 years, it probably didn't happen, or maybe happened on a very small
Small
scale.
scale. Yeah.
But as the price signal embeds itself into the minds of producers, consumers, intermediaries, entrepreneurs, factory owners, the price signal then over a period of time says, hey, I can have good margins
Yeah.
making microwave ovens in India because, uh, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, even if I'm importing
Yeah.
50% of the components for the microwave oven,
Yeah.
if 50% is
Percent.
local value add, that is now undervalued. So my margins improve. So it makes sense for me to set up these factories. So this is the thing. And Japan in the Meiji era, they all did it. By the way, Japan became such a big export powerhouse that in the 1980s, the United States arm twisted them to increase the value of the yen. They said you're undervalued, and with Japan they got away with it. With China they haven't, but with
Yeah.
Japan they actually forced them because otherwise they said you're just exporting too much. Why did they export so much between 1950 and 1975? Because they kept an undervalued yen. Now, I think if we hadn't fallen into the British imperial tradition, ICS tradition of protecting their pensions and
Yeah.
therefore keeping an overvalued rupee, and subsequently some of our sense of socialist sovereignty. In fact, at one time I remember a lot of the discussion in Indian papers we have devalued, Pakistan has not, is Pakistan is a better country than us and so on. Not today, I'm talking about
Yeah.
way back the
Yeah.
50 sterling balances and this and that. It was always seen not from a strictly economic
Economic
price
point of view.
signal
Yeah.
point of view. It's not even a price, it's a price signal.
Yeah.
That's what the exchange rate is. And we kept seeing it as something that we have a strong currency. Arey yaar, nobody has a strong currency. You have a currency. And you manipulate it in a manner that helps your countrymen and countrywomen, not in a manner that gives them some psychological macho feeling. That's the that's the basic thrust of my article.
Yeah.
And I think in 1973, for instance, when oil prices went up,
Mhm.
in fact, it was in the 70s, in the 60s they started it. But Korea, Taiwan, their aggressive undervaluation was in the 70s. And we could have done the same.
Yeah.
Instead, what did we do? Import restrictions, import licensing. We passed FARA, made exchange controls so that you couldn't remit money out. We've always preferred controls and restrictions and licensing to keep an inflated rupee rate
Mhm.
rather than let the market go.
Yeah.
And in fact, more than go, more than correct value, even go for a slight undervaluation, which is what our neighbors did.
Yeah.
73, that was a golden opportunity for us. We had a balance of payments crisis. Obviously, oil prices went from, I don't know, uh, quintupled or whatever, went up 6 times, 10 times. And we could have done it. But our whole focus was how to increase exchange control, how to make import licensing more draconian, and vaguely some sops for exporters, but mainly speeches. Exporters, please work hard and export more, be patriotic. I mean, that was our idea of taking care, but we kept the rupee overvalued,
Overvalued.
way overvalued. If it weren't way overvalued, why would be there such an active black market, hawala market? Why would the difference between the official rupee rate and the hawala rate be so much? Why?
Yeah.
It was overvalued, and we lived with it. And we actually reduced our industrial growth, made our exports uncompetitive. There is no factory set up in the 70s or 80s where we were competitive in anything. It
Hmm.
was always cheaper to import, and most people basically went to Delhi and got themselves import licenses. That's how you made money, not by making, shoes or making toys or making earth moving equipment or cranes, because uh, you could import cheaply, and if you got the license, it was good. And even if you paid duties, it didn't matter. It was okay.
Hmm.
So duties, non tariff barriers, import licensing, import restrictions, draconian exchange controls, all used to defend an overvalued rupee.
That's, yeah.
Whereas, quite simply, an undervalued rupee would have automatically let the animal spirits of Indian entrepreneurs go. I mean, we are not, it's not as if we are more stupid than Koreans or Taiwanese or Vietnamese. Uh, we may have some cultural hang ups and they may have different sets, but there is no reason why our entrepreneurs would not have reacted to the price signal. And today, I think we can take a look at the same thing,
Hmm.
uh, particularly because we have, by the way, 73 also was when the remittances started going through the roof. Because all these oil Gulf countries, we exported people
Yeah.
instead of
People.
exporting
Yeah.
goods. I've mentioned that
Yes.
somewhere in my
So,
article.
yeah.
And the people started sending money. That became a nice drug. Arey, Abhi, now we have remittances. Why bother about exporting toys, cranes, whatever
Yes.
that other people export? Let us export people.
People.
And that became the drug.
Hmm.
That's, that is the drug that otherwise we would have had a current account deficit crisis of such immense proportions that we would have been forced to.
To
Uh,
undervalue.
Throughout the 70s, 80s, we never did. Early 90s, we did one deval, and that worked. That actually worked to our benefit. But again, very soon we brought back the IMF, and again, reassertion of sovereignty became very important for us. Yeah, I mean, currency pricing has nothing to do with sovereignty. It
Hmm.
is simply a price signal
Yeah.
for people, and it determines profit margins of different producers. That's all it does. Now, again, people will say if you devalue, you may have a lot of inflation.
Yeah.
I
But
want to look at what are the products that we import where we would have inflation. I think the real issue would be pulses and oil and vegetable oils and oil seeds. The rest of it, I mean, if the price of cell phones goes up, yeah, it will. If the price of uh, imported Scotch whiskey goes up. I mean, should we be worried about it? We need to kind of and I think we can do countervailing measures on matters that involve food. And in fact, it might be a good signal. I'm not at all convinced that India needs to be a net importer of vegetable oils or pulses. Our agroclimatic conditions are perfect for growing them. Yeah, maybe our agricultural productivity is low, but those things can be fixed. And in any case, with or without the right exchange rate, those are areas where we should be working on to fix them.
Regardless. Yeah.
So I think yes, you may have some sense of inflation, but it's good inflation. It's the inflation of those products that you give the signals to import less and export more. Uh, so that over time we create a merchandise surplus. If every country to our east can have a merchandise export surplus,
Yeah.
what is wrong with us? What is it that did we come down from Mars? Is Rahu Ketu affecting us in a different way that we are different? I don't buy that.
Yeah.
They've gone for, yes, we have other problems.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
have very bad land laws. It's so difficult to set up a factory. We have 3,000 approvals. We
Yeah.
have even with the reduction in QCOs, we have 300 quality control orders. We have 7 different ministries to which we have to go for approval. And states have their own tyrannical regime in
Yeah.
each state. I'm not saying, and those things we should fix.
Yeah.
But I think this is an overarching price signal,
Uh-huh.
which then will allow our entrepreneurs to start negotiating, even with state governments, saying,
Yeah.
"You do this, I'm going to, you know, set up factories. I'm going to do things because my profit margins look good." If your profit margins don't look good, it doesn't matter how many speeches you give. No one's going to invest
Out
in
of
export
factory.
industries.
Yeah.
They will invest in export industries when
Mhm.
they can see embedded profit margins over a period of time. That is why China keeps it undervalued even now. They want to give the signal to their people that don't worry. By the way, their profit margins start very high in China and then decline because they're so super competitive. But the signal is there that you can enter a new industry, make whatever you're making,
Yeah.
drones or whatever, and make money because you get a decent profit margin. Uh, and it's something we should consider. I've just thrown it up as an idea. It's not entirely my idea, by the way. In
Mhm.
my article, I have mentioned that this drug idea came to me from Rakesh Mohan. Rakesh Mohan was a very senior economist in the government for many years. He was deputy governor of Reserve Bank of India, one of the brightest economists India has produced. And Rakesh very casually he said, when we were talking about Latin America and Venezuela and their curse. And then he said, remittances might be our curse. Very casually he mentioned.
Yeah.
So then, before I wrote this article, I called him up and I took his permission to be able to mention his
The
name
conversation.
and this discussion in the article. Because, yes, that's what it is. Otherwise, our current account deficit would be unmanageable.
We'd have to do something about it.
Yeah, and normally in India, as you know, we always do things when a gun is
To
kept to
your
our.
head.
I
Yeah.
have kind of indirectly mentioned this in my article. When Trump imposed 50% tariffs, suddenly we had 3 different committees in Delhi doing economic reform. Yay, whoa,
Yeah.
take this off, do that. When the tariff went back to 10%, I don't see in the press anything
Yeah.
about urgent economic reform. MSMEs helping them, this, that. I don't see. Maybe it's happening in the
Mhm.
background, but there is not that things on
There's
fire.
noise. Yeah.
We don't do this, we're going to, because yeah, 10% will be all right. So there is that thing. Uh, Similarly, right now we have a bit of a danger. In fact, remittances might go up
Hmm. How?
temporarily
Okay.
during these difficult times. both in West Asia and in North America. And we shouldn't get, I worry about it medium term. I think medium to long term, a strategy of exporting people rather than goods is something as a country we should think about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't export people. I'm not saying don't, not saying please ban
Mm.
migration.
Yeah.
We can continue to, those who want to leave and work elsewhere, that's fine. But it should not become for us a substitute drug because we can do that easily.
We
Issue
don't
them
go the
passports
other.
and send them off. We should not give up what is most important, which is building a strong, globally competitive manufacturing, merchandise export base in
Mm.
our country the way we had it. I mean, there is evidence of Indian textiles
Yeah.
in ancient Egypt going back, I don't know, 3, 4 thousand years.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, I think those are very dry countries. The textiles have been preserved. So we've been exporters for a long time and we have to get back
Hmm.
that mojo. We can't be stuck in this export pessimism.
Yeah.
By the way, who was one of the greatest critics of export pessimism? Ah, the late Manmohan Singh.
Mm.
Anytime you met him, you talked to him, the books he wrote, the articles he wrote, he said, this is ridiculous. We've just convinced ourselves that we can't export. Koreans can, Chinese can, but we can't. He said, this is a. And then, of course, what are the policy issues that force that? So we've identified this problem in the past.
Yeah.
But this is another opportunity we have because nobody is going to deny that there's a crisis right now.
Mhm.
So if we stand up and say there's a crisis, we are going for an undervalued currency, I think the country will buy it. Yeah, there'll be one or two people, rich people whose children go to university abroad who will complain. But let them complain.
But don't you think, the average Indian would be affected by the inflation? Do you think we have enough of, let's say, the buffer period for this to work? Do you
I
think
think,
India has the infrastructure to handle that buffer
yeah,
period?
I think if you look at us, look, as far as petroleum products are concerned, whether you like it or not, you'll have to take the prices up.
Yeah.
That, okay, you can do some things, you can reduce GST, you can reduce excise, you know, but the prices have to go up. That can't be avoided. And that will have its effect.
Yeah.
Other products, I don't know. As I said, the only things that worry me are pulses, oils, vegetable oils, and oil seeds. I don't know in our CPI, in our whole inflation index, how important is. I mean, today we import microwave ovens, we import cranes. I don't know, some of it is capital equipment. I don't know. Even if it goes up in rupee terms, if the rupee term margins go up over time, I think we can live with it. There will be. I'm not saying there's going to be zero pain, but
Yeah.
the pain is today happening because of a problem in West Asia. It's not
Mhm.
happening because we did something wrong. So let's
Yeah.
use that. Let's blame the external world and use that opportunity.
Mhm.
But after we undervalue, we have to keep it undervalued. We should not go back to the sovereignty thing. Let's quickly repay IMF. Let's quickly uh, strengthen the rupee. That has to go. That mentality has to go. Let's see. I'm hopeful.
A period of suffering too.
That's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, listen. We might have rationing of some products. These
Yeah.
things. This war is looking so bad. It's not going to be.
Yeah.
Cakewalk for any country, and
Yeah.
certainly we are not among those countries. By the way, many things can happen, we'll see, but it's looking a little rough.
Yeah.
It's just the right time. 73, there was an opportunity. Today, 26, there is an opportunity to sell it to the Indian public. What can we do? There's a war. Therefore, we have to do these things.
Good time for PR management.
Also, it's also it's the way nation societies
Yeah.
work. You know,
Yeah.
this is the way even biological organisms work. When you get an infection, you develop a resistance to it. You develop, anti-infection. It's like that. So this is a good time. It's a bad time. I'm not happy that there's a war and there's
Yeah.
global economic crisis, but let's turn
Use
that
it to
into
our
recognition.
advantage. Yeah.
Not keep still being slaves of ICS officers who wanted high pensions.
That's
So that's
seems like
too.
a great note to end it on.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you again. It was a very
Thanks a lot.
interesting discussion.
Thank you.